There's a lot of talented programmers out there, but it's really difficult to find one you can communicate well with.
Hey everyone, and thanks for tuning in today to the Driven to Better podcast, where everyone you'll hear is driven to make business better. I am your host, Justin Sisley, and on the show today is Jeremy Neren of GrocerKey. Join us as we talk about Jeremy's failed first attempt at starting his company, some interesting moments delivering food on a bike, and how Jeremy found his CTO and co-owner. Stay tuned, we've got a great show ahead. All right, I'm here today with Jeremy Neren, one of the co-founders of GrocerKey. Thanks for joining us today, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me.
How many co-founders are there for the company?
So I'm actually the sole founder.
You're the sole founder,
yeah,
okay.
There's a full-time CTO as well that plays a good role, but technically I'm the sole founder. Yeah.
Okay. Is he he's part owner, though, or is he an employee?
He has an equity stake, and then he's also a full-time employee. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're going to talk about GrocerKey in a little bit, but I kind of want to start because I was reading your bio a little bit online and noticed that this doesn't seem to be your first go-around in entrepreneurialism. Yeah. Why don't you tell us about kind of where you started out down that road?
Yeah, so the entrepreneurial path for me started off in 2006. Graduated from UW in 2005. Actually was a history major, and the path at that time was I wanted to be a teacher. I went back home, which is St. Paul, Minnesota, taught for 6 months, and kind of had this idea in the back of my head for a number of years while I was a student to start a late-night grocery delivery service targeting college students. Something I kind of always wished I would have had as a resource while I was a student. Mm-hmm. I had seen a similar operation work really well in Washington, D.C., so I moved back here. This would have been September of 2006, and I started a business which at the time was called Madtown Munchies. So we offered 30-minute delivery of groceries and snack food items to college students at UW, and that business still operates today and now is called Munchie Delivery.
Okay. Are you still involved with that, or did you leave?
Yep. So I'm still involved in that, and actually that business will become part of GrocerKey moving forward. So GrocerKey will offer white label e-commerce solutions for grocery stores, as well as on-demand delivery, and one of the options provided among all the stores we provide is going to be Munchie Delivery.
Okay, so for those that aren't aware, describe what white label means.
White label means it'll be branded under the store's name. So we provide them with a template store. It'll have their look and feel. So it's kind of a omni-channel experience, which means a seamless transition between in-store shopping and online shopping. So it embodies the store's brand, their color scheme. Like I said, has their logo, their product mix, and so when a customer goes to the site, they feel like they're ordering from that specific store.
Now, with the Munchie Delivery. Was that something where it was just pretty much food from grocery stores, or could you order? I know I always wanted somebody to go to Taco Bell for me at like 2 a.m. and bring me some back. Would you guys do that too?
We did not. So that was certainly something we got a number of requests for. We still do today, but that's just not our niche. So we, up until about a year ago, actually warehoused all the products we offered for delivery. So we had a small warehouse of products. Ranging anywhere from 800 to 1,200 SKUs over the time that we did warehouse those products. And then about a year ago, we developed a relationship with a local grocer, and now we utilize them as a warehouse. So now we don't have to manage the inventory ourselves. So
how long ago did GrocerKey kind of come into being then?
Yeah, so it's been a bigger concept that I've thought about for a number of years. I actually approached the grocery store we're currently partnered with about 3.5 years ago, and we just didn't come to terms at that time. But that just gives you a sense of how long this has been on my mind. And the idea actually came to fruition shortly after we did finally formally partner with this store. Just saw an enormous opportunity to attack a much larger problem, which is just online grocery space in general, and providing a traditional grocery delivery experience, and then also providing the technology for grocery stores that want to get into that market, because it is growing very rapidly.
Take us back to 3 years ago when you first approached the grocery store. What held up the deal? What made it not work out?
Well, that was a big learning lesson for me. I know you wanted to kind of hear some learning lessons, so that was going to be one of the things I hit on. We can just talk about that now, I guess. I think it was just an example of being a little bit greedy, and it really cost me, just asking for more than I probably deserved at that time, and the deal just falling apart because of that. I think if I would have been smart and asked for what would have been best for me rather than what was the most I thought I could get, it would have been a go, and I'd probably be a lot further ahead today. But at the same time, no regrets. I think it's something that you live and learn, and that's a lesson I'll take with me, and it's definitely a valuable one.
Did that sour the relationship at all when you went back to talk to them again, or no?
No, not at all. Not at all. And it wasn't the kind of thing where there was any bitterness. He just said no, and he's a decisive guy, and so it was an easy decision for him. And I went ahead running my business, and he went ahead operating his. And when we came back together, fortunately, I was smarter the second time around and didn't ask for too much, so we solidified a deal pretty quickly.
Was it just the terms of your cut of the profits that changed, that made him change his mind and accept the deal?
It was actually, I was seeking a full-on partnership, so I was actually offering him basically a 50% stake in the business at that time. So I was asking for him to make a substantial investment in order to acquire that equity and be involved moving forward. So part of it was that the second time around, I made the partnership a little bit less all-encompassing, and it was more about being partners rather than him taking on a significant equity stake of the business.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Big reward, but also big risk for him. Big potential reward, I suppose.
Well, yeah, with the new deal, there's very little risk, and that's why he took it right away.
Yeah.
So I structured it in a way where it was a no-brainer for him, but at the same time, it was definitely beneficial for us as well, because managing 1,200 SKUs is not fun to do, and we consider ourselves more of a service-based business than a back-end logistics when it comes to managing the actual inventory, and so it's kind of the modern business approach is to try to utilize existing infrastructure as much as possible, and so we really wanted to take advantage of that.
So for somebody who's never heard of it before, they've never been online to check it out,
Sure.
Describe GrocerKey. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so it's multifaceted. On one end, we partner with grocery stores, and like I said, we provide that white label e-commerce storefront, meaning we provide them with the online store embodying all their products, and that's something they can market directly to their customers. And then we actually go in and we bag their orders and we deliver to the end consumer. So it's a value-add service and technology to existing grocery stores that want to get into online grocery and delivery. We also then have GrocerKey.com, which will become a portal for all of the stores that we're providing service for. So eventually you'll be able to go to GrocerKey.com, type in your zip code, and see all of the available delivery options in your area. And that's where I mentioned Munchie Delivery comes into it, because that will be one of the offerings, and then it will consist of all the other stores we're partnered with as well.
So you physically build them a website. You're building them their own separate website to host all of the shopping, and that's, I'm assuming, has a payment portal and everything, so you can literally check out on there just like any other store.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other part you mentioned is you actually provide people to bag and deliver the groceries. So how's that work? Are these employees of yours or employees of Munchie Delivery? Or?
So they'd be employees of GrocerKey, which would be servicing the Munchie Delivery business in addition to any stores that we partner with. And so we would have a network of drivers, essentially, that'll get alerted as orders come in. They would go to the store. They go in just like a shopper would. They shop the order. However, we do have a back-end app to make the shopping process more efficient, where we can scan items in real time so we can bypass the checkout process. And then we deliver to the end consumer.
Okay, so they're not waiting in the line at the grocery store behind somebody who's doing their shopping for 3 weeks when they have 6 items to check out?
Exactly.
Okay, very cool. Have you thought about, in the delivery process, a partnership with like an Uber or a Lyft? Because those people constantly have downtime, and I'm sure they'd jump at the chance to make some money during that downtime.
Sure, we have a little bit, and there's another company similar to the ones you mentioned called Postmates, and they actually recently opened up a public API. And so we spent a lot of time looking into how we could potentially partner with them. A couple drawbacks in that, one being that they're limited to major markets. So for instance, in Madison, Postmates does not exist right now. They could eventually, but for now they don't. So it's not an option in smaller markets. And then two, we really want to take an approach where it's a true white glove service and we're in control of the service being offered. I think grocery is unique in that people really care about who's shopping for their order, who's picking their produce, who's shopping for their meat. So I think that's something we'd love to be in control of and really have people that are highly vetted, really well trained, that we can stay on top of and making sure we're really providing a high level of service.
So if you're bringing your own employees into this, are they going to be just kind of on call, or how's that going to work? Are they going to have scheduled hours?
Yeah, so it'll be scheduled hours. So there's going to be a learning curve for us to figure out, hours that are a little busier. We need to make sure that we're staffed appropriately, and that'll be something that each new market we go into we'll have to learn quickly.
Okay, and do you think these will be actually employees or contractors?
Yeah. So they'd be W-2 employees. Again, that's an area we kind of want to differentiate ourselves. Just for legal reasons. I think there's some ambiguity there, even with some of the existing companies that hire people as contractors. And then B, like I said, we want to really put people through a rigorous training process to make sure that they're fully capable of managing the service we want to provide.
Okay. So I'm envisioning myself as an end user. I despise grocery shopping.
Yeah.
It is like I try to do it as little as possible. So, but I'm thinking when you describe having full-time employees, or maybe they're part-time, but employees of yours who do this for at least part of a living, highly trained people, I'm thinking you got to pay them more than minimum wage. How is that going to impact the cost of my groceries now?
Sure. So in terms of the cost of your groceries, you'll always pay in-store pricing. That's something that will stick by forever. So you'll always pay exactly what you would pay in-store. There is a delivery fee. So that's something that's going to range anywhere from $4.95 to $12.95, and that's based on your proximity to that specific store. So those are kind of the industry standards, and our hope is obviously people will be understanding that it's an incremental service being provided to them, and we feel like that's a pretty reasonable price to pay to have groceries brought to your doorstep. I
think it's very reasonable, but I'm wondering how you make money off of that.
Yeah, so we do take a cut from the store. So the initial arrangement is we would take 5% cut from the store. So we are earning on both ends, and this is definitely something where we need to scale quickly in order to reach real good profitability. But we're confident we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking if I'm getting a $40 grocery delivery, you guys are making $2 off that, and you're probably paying the entire delivery fee to the guy who's doing the delivery. So you're right. Scale is going to be key on that.
Scale is crucial. Absolutely.
So I noticed on your website, looking before the interview, you guys have a kind of a membership plan that you're promoting on there for end users, right? So how are you incentivizing end users to become a membership, and what does that all entail?
Yeah, so that's something that you'll see down the line. It's not something we're going to introduce immediately, but it'll be something similar to what you'd see with like an Amazon Prime, where you would pay a yearly or monthly fee, and in exchange you would get free delivery. And the rationale for that on our end is that we want to make sure that we're retaining customers, and in an ideal world we'd be retaining customers that are doing all of their grocery shopping through GrocerKey.
And so it's a benefit for the grocery stores too.
Correct.
Right?
Yep, because it's great for customer retention.
And are you offering this out to any grocery store who wants to be a part of it, or are you going to limit your offering to certain stores in different markets, or how are you going to work that?
Sure. Well, we of course want to grow, but yeah, there is some brand consideration, and the emphasis, especially early on, is that we want to be kind of a champion for the local grocer. So you'll probably see a lot of independent stores, co-ops, and smaller regional chains that currently don't have an online ordering set up themselves.
That brings up the question too. The bigger chains or bigger stores that already have an online offering, do you see them as competitors or as a potential client still?
In some cases, they could be potential clients. In many cases, they have already implemented their own solutions. So again, that gets back to kind of us being a champion for the smaller grocer, and kind of consolidating a very fragmented market, which is the independent grocery space. We feel like by providing them with the technological tools and delivery infrastructure that they could be equally powerful. And so in some way we view this as it's a market trend where a lot of these chains are kind of taking over, and we're providing a way for the independents to keep pace.
We were talking a little bit before the interview, and you mentioned you're kind of rolling out the first grocery store right now to kind of go full on with the platform. How do you plan on tackling the sales process in the future? I noticed on your website you've got an email sign up, and that's for the grocery store to express their interest. There's not a demo on there of like the e-commerce website you provide. Is that something you want to do that all in person to develop that strong relationship right off the bat, or how do you plan on tackling sales?
Yeah, so early on we're doing face-to-face demos, or obviously a lot of resources to do that online. So that's the approach early on. As we scale, there are other potential opportunities, for instance, going direct to retailer cooperatives, which are essentially the wholesalers that represent a lot of these independent grocers. In some cases, they're representing 4,000 stores. So if we develop a relationship with them and they they send it out to their grocers, it's a much more streamlined sales process.
Once you get these stores online, I would imagine it is equally important for you and for them to promote this. What are a lot of things people struggle with in new businesses? They can get the business up and going. They've got a great idea, but how do you promote it? How do you get it out to the masses? What's your plan for that? Yeah,
so again, it becomes multifaceted, where the onus is on not only us but the store. Because we're giving them the tools, and by the way, we do that for free. So they get access to the platform, the setup, and the ongoing fee it's free. So there's no expense for them. So the expectation is that they will promote this, and there's a lot of opportunities for them to do that in store. They send out weekly circulars, include a little blurb that hey, we offer online ordering. Go to our website, place an order, and get free delivery on your first order. And if they have any email lists, accessing that, and then same goes on our end. But we'll provide some other unique user acquisition tools, local digital marketing and social media campaigns.
Now, recently you guys got accepted to an accelerator called Generator. Why don't you tell us kind of how you got involved in that to begin with?
So I've known about the Generator program for a number of years now, since they first started. I've seen some of the companies that have come through here really successfully, Each Street being one of the primary ones. We've, through Munchie Delivery, have been listed on Each Street ever since they first started, and I met with them very early stage, and I've seen where they were then and where they are now, and it's amazing the kind of growth they've experienced. They were one of the first companies to go through Generator.
They've got a skee-ball machine in their office now.
Yes, I was there. I was there last week. Yeah, they do beer Fridays, 5:00 after work every week, and so that's actually how we kicked off the Generator program. They brought us over there so we could kind of see their company culture. It's awesome what they have going over there. So,
cool.
Yeah, very cool business. Matt, their CEO, is an awesome guy. I met with him early on. I knew he would succeed. I could see the drive and determination early on, and that's one of the biggest things was I saw them as a perfect example of a company that came in that had a great idea, a couple great guys behind it, and Generator really helped them a lot get to where they are now.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll do the same for you.
Exactly.
Take us through the process of, a lot of people probably know about accelerators but have no idea how to get into one. Is that something that you applied for? Were you asked to apply for it? How'd that work?
Yeah, so we did apply. Fairly thorough application process. Initially, I guess it's not so thorough. You fill out a questionnaire, fairly basic questions, and then they accept X number of businesses to move on to round 2. They bring you in for an in-person interview, then they accept whoever moves on to the next round, and you come back for another one. So I believe they said there were about 430 applicants for this round, and they accepted 5. So it's definitely an honor to get accepted.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, now you mentioned your CTO. Was he part of the team when you applied, or before you applied?
Yeah. So he and I have been working together for about 6 months now.
Okay.
He was on full time well before we applied.
And how'd you find him? Because this is something that a lot of people struggle with too. You got a lot of idea people out there, but they don't have the programming knowledge. How'd you end up finding your CTO?
Yeah, so it is a real struggle, and I've gone through a number of programmers, and the challenge, I think it all comes down to communication. There's a lot of talented programmers out there, but it's really difficult to find one you can communicate well with when you're not, of a technical background like myself. So we met on a website called Co-Founders Lab, which is structured for that very purpose, where you have a founder and someone with a technical background, kind of each looking for each other. He was looking for a startup to catch on with, and I was looking for a technical guy to help me with my idea. So we met at the perfect time, and it's been a really good match.
Good. Well, I'll have to put a link to that website in the show notes for your page, because that would be very helpful to a lot of people, I know.
Absolutely. And it's really easy to get set up. You just put a little blurb about yourself, your concept, and who you're looking for, and it's almost like a social network for entrepreneurs.
Okay. So you've been in this entrepreneurial world for several years now, specifically in this kind of food niche, grocery niche. There's got to be some weird stories from maybe your early days with Munchie Delivery. Can you tell us something that sticks out as being really funny or just kind of weird?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of routes I could go with that one. One that sticks out, though, was really early on when we first started. I was actually running the business out of my apartment. I warehoused all the product in my apartment, and I made all the deliveries myself by bike. So it was an interesting year, and we had some customers that would order like every single night, really supported us. They knew we were super early stage. Obviously, they saw that I was making every single delivery myself, and there was a crew of guys. I still remember it was at 11 North Bassett Street. They would order every single night, and they were always super rowdy when I'd go over there, and they'd always make me come in and take a shot with them. And I'd always humor them, even though I had to bike around the rest of the night. So those were kind of the glory days. That was a long time ago, but it's fun to think back on that.
Yeah. I can tell you, I used to run a designated driver service in Madison.
Oh, cool.
And kind of the same scenario where we had a lot of repeat clients, repeat customers, and it is amazing to me how many people will offer you a drink when you're driving them home. It's incredible to me how many just want to go out and drink more with you.
That's pretty remarkable.
Well, great. We learned a lot about you and about GrocerKey. Going forward, I mean, what's the thing you're most excited about with your business? Is it getting into Generator? Is there some big plan you got that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of being at the ground floor of a new concept. I'm a pretty passionate entrepreneur, so the idea of being able to kind of recreate the whole building process, going back to where I was, almost 10 years ago, is really exciting for me. And then being a part of this program is just amazing. These guys are really well connected, and so we're, I mentioned to you before the interview, we're in the process now called the Mentor Swarm, where we're meeting with 10 potential advisors, investors, and in some cases maybe even employees down the road. Every single day. So it's really exciting to meet all these folks and tell them what you're up to and get their feedback. They're typically people that are much more experienced than I am, so it's really, really exciting.
I wanted to ask too, with Amazon and their, I can't remember what it's called. Is it Fresh Market?
Amazon Fresh. Yep.
How does that work? Do you know? I'm not familiar enough with it. Is that something that you see as being a competitor, or you're not worried about it?
Yeah, I mean, of course. There are a number of competitors. They certainly are one of them. But what's interesting about them is they are competing directly with grocery stores. So they're what's called a pure play online provider, and in doing so, they actually create more demand for our product because they create a sense of urgency for grocery stores to get online themselves and be able to compete with the Amazons and the Googles of the world. So in a sense, they actually benefit us, and they create more urgency for stores to work with someone like us.
Okay, so Amazon is not partnering with grocery stores. They're really their own grocery store.
Yeah, they warehouse their product, and they're just in major markets for right now.
Okay.
There's no telling what they'll do moving forward, but I think that what we're doing is a little bit more niche.
Well, good. You put a good spin on it. I mean, not that you needed to put a good spin on it. You're right. I mean, it is, since I thought they were partnering with grocery stores. So I thought they were kind of doing the same thing as you, but you're absolutely right. Because of what they're doing, there's going to be much more pressure on the local stores to kind of up their game a little bit.
Exactly.
And you're there to help them.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right, well, that's kind of the meat and potatoes of everything. I got a couple other questions I wanted to ask you about, things that will hopefully help our listeners, people who are either very early entrepreneurs or haven't even taken that leap yet. So one of the things I always ask is kind of an inspirational person, either in life or business, somebody that you look up to that you feel like you've learned a lot from.
Yeah, so that's a tough one, but given that this is kind of an entrepreneurial-focused interview, I definitely have to go with Elon Musk. And the reason why is I love the way he attacks problems and just thinks big, almost to the point where people think he's insane.
Yeah.
But I think that's really that's a true entrepreneur when you're thinking that big that people kind of question your sanity at times. So I've always admired him quite a bit, and I think he's like the Dalai Lama of entrepreneurialism.
I'm on board with you there. He's at the top of my list as well. Have you read about the Hyperloop?
I have not. Tell me more.
You need to hear about this.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk came up with the idea. He's not pursuing it, but he released the plans so that anybody else who wanted to could. It's a completely enclosed train that can travel, I think, I read it a while ago, but I think it's a train that can travel faster than the speed of sound. Because it's in this completely enclosed tube, they're able to vacuum out all the air, so there's hardly any friction or anything like that. And they're thinking about implementing it in California because the traffic is so bad up and down the coast between San Diego and LA and San Francisco and all that. It's probably years away from being implemented, but it's a fun read, so go out and search for it. There's plenty of articles online, but it's so amazing the stuff that he comes up with, and it's possible. It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
And that's just another idea that he had that he's doing so many things that he's just giving this idea to somebody else to do.
Yeah.
Like he's just got that many plans.
Yeah, he's a genius, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, well, going forward from that, then, what's a book that you've read that has also kind of influenced your way here?
Yeah, so that's an easy one for me. This book has probably impacted me more than any other. It's called Why Quantum Physicists Do Not Fail.
Okay.
It's by Greg Kuhn. I recommend that to anyone. Obviously, that's not necessarily directly an entrepreneurial book, but I think it has application in the entrepreneurial world. Some really strong messages in there about kind of just modern science and how it can really affect what we want to accomplish in life and the way to go about that.
It's kind of a scary title, I'm not gonna lie. Do you have to be a scientist to read it?
No, I am. I had a lot of D's in science in high school and college, so yeah, you do not need to be a scientist by any means. It's actually a pretty simple book.
Okay.
I mean, like a elementary school student could probably read it and digest a lot of it. The messages are pretty straightforward.
All right.
The theory obviously is a little more complex, quantum physics, but it's it can be dumbed down. So
okay,
that's a good one though.
All right, good. We'll put it on the show notes page.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I want to break in quickly to thank one of our partners on the show, Audible.com. For the listeners of the Driven to Better podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. Between my full-time job, a side gig, and this podcast, I just can't find the time to sit down and read. That's where an audiobook comes in. It's the perfect solution for a busy schedule. Now, time spent driving, working out, or running errands is time spent learning with an audiobook. Head to driventobetter.com/book today and get your free audio version of the book we just talked about or any other book you want. Again, that's driventobetter.com/book. All right, back to this awesome interview. And then a business resource, something you find yourself using almost daily or maybe even more than daily in your business.
Yeah, so this is an obvious one, but LinkedIn. It's a biggie for me, especially right now as I'm trying to develop new industry connections in the grocery space. I recommend that to anyone. I think people are pretty receptive to responding. If you send a LinkedIn message with some level of sincerity of hey, I'd love to connect with you about this topic. And I think it's one of those it's one of those sites where people tend to trust it, and so that they'll respond to people.
Yeah, it's not Facebook, so don't use it like that. I get so sick of people sending me LinkedIn requests that I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get as many LinkedIn connections as they possibly
Ramp
can.
up their stats. Yeah, I don't recommend it for that use, but if you have a specific person you want to reach out to, I think it's a great resource.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I know I've used it before I was looking at getting a job, and I messaged somebody who knew somebody who had worked at the place I was applying just to kind of get in touch and get a feel for it to make sure it'd be a good fit. So
yeah, that's the perfect application right there.
Yeah. All right, and then finally, people who are listening, like I said, they may be early on, they may not be an entrepreneur yet. What's a piece of guidance that you've found that is probably the best thing you've learned so far? Because you've been at it for quite a while now.
Yeah.
So what can you impart on our listeners?
Well, not to be redundant, but this goes back to the why quantum physicists do not fail. A big piece is meditation. I meditate anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes a day. And I think that that's huge for entrepreneurs. It's very stressful. It's grueling, and I think it's really important to quiet the mind and step away, and I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay.
And so I find that I'm a lot more efficient, especially on days where I get a couple of good meditation sessions in.
I got to ask then, how do you find time to do that?
So here's an interesting response to that. And so my dad actually got me into meditation, and this is something he always says, because that's always the question is how do you find time? And my response to that, this is something I learned from my dad, is you can't afford to not find the time, and that's because it makes you a lot more efficient. So even on days when you're jam-packed, you need to find 5-10 minutes to sneak away and get it done wherever that may be. I mean, you can do it, you can get it done anywhere. So you just got to find the time, and like I said, it really makes you a lot more efficient.
Okay. Well, last thing would be plug whatever you want to plug. Tell us how to get in touch with you if people have questions or just want to know more about GrocerKey.
Yeah.
And then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah. So if you're in the Madison area, within the next couple weeks here, if you check out GrocerKeyExpress.com, we'll be launching our first store on that site. It's a partnership with a store that unfortunately we can't brand it under that store name, so I can't disclose the name of the store. But it'll be representing a local Madison grocery store, very low-cost solution. So if you're a Madison student looking to get your groceries delivered, definitely check that out, and shoot me some feedback if you have any on the concept or that specific business. Jeremy@GrocerKey.com.
Sounds good. Well, thanks again for taking the time to be with us today, Jeremy, and I wish you the best of luck with your business.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks again for joining us. Remember to head over to driventobetter.com and check out the show notes where we'll have everything we talked about here today. Don't forget, you can get a free audio version of our guest's recommended book or any other book you like from audible.com by clicking on the link in the show notes. While you're there, I'd also encourage you to check out the DTB Plus Club for exclusive access to premium content. It's totally free, so go to the website for more details. Thanks again. Catch you on the next show.